Welcome in, everyone. This is our behind the scenes of our Brightline Eating Mastermind Group chat. We are so glad that you're here. We'll do a quick introduction. Maybe we can say a little bit about when we started Brightline Eating, how much weight we've lost, what our susceptibility score is. Can you share a little bit?
Sure.
Krista, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I'm Krista. I've been doing Brightline Eating just over a year. I have lost a little over 73 pounds so far, and I've got a few more left to lose. And I am a 10 plus on the scale, which just means I hit the top, and if there was farther up to go, I would go there. So, yeah.
I'm Linnea. My handle on Instagram is Healthy Looks Good on You. And I am a 10 plus as well. With my girl Krista there. I definitely call myself a food addict. I am 485 days into Brightline Eating, and I am, I don't know how many days into maintenance, but a few months into maintenance, through the maintenance dance, I lost 90 pounds and am working on that maintenance dance right now.
Yeah. I'm Laura. I started Brightline Eating in June 22nd of 2021. I've lost 30 pounds with Brightline Eating. I'm an 8 on the susceptibility scale. And it's been such an amazing journey. And then we have Jen, who is our 4th member. Jen is she's monitoring the chat. She's amazing. Jen can share in the chat. Or if you want to, Jen, you could unmute yourself. We could hear you if you want to.
Hi. I'm Jen. I am Jenny Brightline on Instagram. I'm an 8 on the susceptibility scale, and I've been doing Brightline Eating since 2017. I was a crystal vaser for 2 years, and then I did some research and gained about 10 pounds. And so I resumed a year ago, and here I am. So good to be with you.
Yay. All right. So Jen is going to be helping with the chat. And if anybody's over on Instagram, you can jump over to Zoom if you'd like to participate more in the chat. And she's doing that so graciously for us so that the 3 of us can stay focused, because during a mastermind, we hold space for one another during this place. But we will kick off. It's going to be kind of a behind the scenes for a lot of you. We're going to kind of try to focus on one another and not focus as much on the chat. But that's what Jen's there for, to help with. But we kick off with 3 questions that we answer. One is, how am I right now? How has my week been? We talk a little bit about our win for the week, like what we have to celebrate, or our gratitude that's been going on. And then last week's commitments. And thank you, Krista. These are all downloadable handouts that you can get from the hub if you are part of Brightline Eating's access online. And we highly recommend that you get a mastermind group. You'll see why, because these ladies and everybody's pretty amazing, and the accountability is pretty cool. But I have our order, so we kind of just rotate in order so we know who's talking and when. And I set a timer. So we're going to do like a 3-minute timer to start with. And Krista's going to kick us off here whenever you're ready.
All right. So I'm doing really good today. I wrote notes to stay focused. I've been doing a lot of self-care lately, so I feel like I'm in a really good place right now. Things are getting done. And just, it took 3 weeks of my kids being back in school. We were homeschooling for 2 years and then stuck them back in school 3 weeks ago. It took a full 3 weeks for me to really get my mojo. I kind of fell apart. So I feel like I'm finally finding a groove, which is really, really nice. Successes to celebrate this week. I'm going to save that one for my time. My kids were sick and I wasn't. I think that's a pretty big success. I don't know if that's Brightline Eating or what. It's probably my health. But I have one kid that's been coughing and hacking, and I have asthma too. So I figured if he was, I would be, but I wasn't. And I had another kid that was puking his guts out, and I also didn't get that. So that's really exciting. And I also flexed my restaurant muscles this week. which I'm sort of the opposite of most people that way. I struggle with going to restaurants. I like to kind of just stay at home and have control over my food. So it's actually hard for me to go to restaurants, but my husband and I went out for breakfast to a restaurant and I navigated it very well. I had to order like 3 different meals. It was expensive, but I got my bright food. And so that's kind of what counted. So, and then how did I do with last week's commitment? My commitment last week was at dinner time to make sure I was splitting my veggies between a cooked veggie and a salad properly, kind of the way it's outlined in the food plan initially, and not just considering it, you know, big lump sum of veggies, because it was getting complicated for me with food chatter and having too much cooked veggies. So I did stay true to that. Some of my salads were more of a Greek salad, not a leafy salad, but it was still like the raw cooked split. So yeah, I kept that commitment.
Awesome. All right. How am I right now? I am emotionally drained. This week, I feel like I've gone on this like crazy roller coaster of emotions. After our last mastermind group, I had this like really intense, amazing, like mountaintop high feeling of food freedom for the first time in a really long time when I went on weight loss, which I'll talk about. I just was feeling so elated that I had some peace, and it was going so well. And then I got really frustrated when 2 days into my new trying weight loss, I gained 2 pounds. And then held that frustration as those 2 pounds stayed. And then today I had this big emotional coaching call and mastermind group talk where I just kind of felt emotionally overwhelmed. So I just felt like it was very emotionally charged week for me. So yeah, so when for the week, I stayed bright within all of that. I stayed bright going on weight loss when I'm used to having tons of ads. So I'd say that was a huge win. And I started Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, FMCA, this week, and I started my schooling. So that's a big win. I'm really excited for that. Last week, my commitment was about the weight loss. So trying the weight loss, but not like being married to it. So if issues arose, I had like things in place. The first, I think 2 days, I did commit my food via picture of my journal to you guys, but it just didn't, I don't know. I've never been one to commit my food to others. And once I did it twice, I was like, this doesn't feel like a big deal. So I think I just kind of forgot and I wasn't hard on myself about that. But I did go to you when I was feeling extra hungry that day, saying I was going to use my plan. And so I felt like I did my commitments there. So that's about it.
Awesome. Okay. How am I right now? How's my week been? I feel like the week has been pretty good. I'm working through a hip flexor injury a little bit and just really listening to my body and trying to not get too much in my head about that and just be like, okay, this is still part of the journey. We're doing our things. Noticing a little grieving and a little stuff coming up, which I'll talk about later too, but just kind of navigating through that. It's funny. I was talking with my counselor and she was asking like, how's the stuff with the infertility going and the motherhood? And I was like, really good. Like I haven't been triggered. Everything's great. And then I get home on Instagram and then I'm like, oh no. Right. Opportunities to work through some of that. The big win for the week, the celebration of gratitude, is I feel like I have finally hit automaticity for exercise. And it only took 9.5 weeks of exercising daily, but I know what you're talking about now. Linnea is really great about that. And you told me that it would come, and it's finally come, where Monday, my Pilates instructor was out of town and I had to go to the gym. Like I wasn't going to Pilates. I was like, well, I can go and do core at the gym. And it was just automatic. It was like, well, of course I'm going to go. So that was exciting. my last week's commitment to continue to exercise. I've been doing that, and that's been going really well. And my meditation commitment, I missed one day. I was at 87 days of consecutive meditation, and I love seeing the little thing pop up on the Insight Timer app. And I knew I woke up, I forgot it on Friday. I woke up Saturday morning almost in a panic, like, I forgot to meditate. Oh no. And then I saw and it was like, okay. So an opportunity to resume with meditation and just get back up and keep on going. And I'm back on, like, I think today was day 4 of consecutive meditation. Like, we're back on the horse. We're doing the things. Humbling, because especially I think there's a piece of me that likes to see, right? Almost like that crystal vaser of like, ooh, look at, and then I messed up my chain. So it's okay. Right? Forgiveness, permission to be human, and continuing to move forward with that. So that's me. All right, Krista, do you want to start? I'll set 8 minutes on the timer.
All right. All right, so yeah, I sort of skipped over it in my successes, but sorry, I guess we should also say for this portion, we fill out a call prep form. So there's all kinds of questions that sort of just extract information from us. And then whatever the heck we want to share from what we wrote down is what we share during our 8-minute chunk of time. So this is our time in the hot seat, basically. And then everyone responds to what we're saying. So anyway, that's that. So yeah, one of my successes this week was being kind and intuitive with my body. And I didn't even realize why until yesterday's accountability call with the piece about hibernation and about I really clung on to the part where she's like, we have daily cycles, we have weekly cycles, we have monthly cycles, we have yearly cycles. And this is the point in the cycle where we just stay inside our cave and don't move and eat soup and just do nothing, right? We eat our squash and cooked vegetables and we just don't do anything. And that's okay. And somehow that just really rested on my soul. And I had peace about it because last year at this time, I was losing weight because I had just started Brightline eating. So I didn't have the body rhythms of a year under my belt. And now I do. And my weight loss has been really slow lately. And I have been more lethargic. And I don't think it would matter what I'm eating. I think my weight loss would continue to be slow. But it got me thinking, like, our Paleolithic ancestors, right? Like, this is the time of year that all their food stores had run out. It's not spring yet. There's nothing to eat. It's all about surviving. And it's like our bodies at this time of year are actually just trying to make it to spring. And spring will come. And then everything will change. And it was like, okay. And it was like an affirmation because I've been exercising less. My minimum bar is 15 minutes of intentional body movement of any kind. That's what counts as exercise, right? And that's what I've been doing, like 15 minutes of like stretching or yoga in the sauna to count as my exercise. And like, there's not much mobility, range of motion in there, right? Like, very limited stretching going on, but it counts. And that's what I've been doing. And so that's okay. And yeah, same thing, like just being okay with the scale not moving down as fast as I'd like it to, and just being okay with that. So anyway, that I just wanted to elaborate on. So that's why I sort of skipped over it before. My food this week has been neutral and repetitive, which gives me peace. I've been literally just eating the same thing every breakfast, every lunch, every supper. And I mean, so today I changed it up with the spices, but it was still the same salad, random mix of cooked veggies, beans, and pistachios, and that was my supper, right? So I'm loving that, and I'm loving the neutrality of that. And the neutrality of little things like we had discussed last week, whether I was breaking my lines by doing 2.4 ounces of guac, right? because when I make the guac, I know it's 2 ounces of avocado, and then with the lime juice and the spices and all that, it works out to about 2.4 ounces. And I was like, is that wrong? And I was like, no, it's not. For me, that's what my bright portion is. And so I'm having peace around stuff like that as well, that it's, I'm not nickel and diming it. There's actually like this wisdom of accuracy that's happening with time, and just having peace around that. So that's been really good. And so my food's been good. I did go down this week though. I lost 2 pounds this week, which I haven't lost. Yeah, I haven't lost in 4 weeks. So that's really good. And so I am now back to square one where I was when I made my maintenance protein ad. So I made the protein ad, I gained 3 pounds, and now I think we're 5 weeks later, and now I'm back to where I was when I made that ad. So I haven't bumped down at all, but like this is way slower than it was with the veggies when I made the veggie ads. So, but I just have peace about it. It's okay. I made a maintenance ad when my body wanted to hibernate. So my bad. I don't know. Right? Sorry, body. This is what we're doing. And I realized I haven't told you guys, I've been taking melatonin for 2 months. I was looking at the little questions about sleep and all the little check mark areas there. And so my sleep has been really good. I would say for about 2 months now, I've been taking half a melatonin tablet at night and just being okay with that. And it really is like, just my sleep has been very consistent, which is something I've struggled with in the past. So super happy about that. Let's see. I am struggling with what are my bright body goals. So I look at all 3 of you, and I think they know what they're after. They know what they want. They know what their end game is. They know what the finish line looks like. The only thing I've had in mind is the French formula. That's all I've had to go on. But weight aside, like what do I want for my bright body, right? Like physically, what do I want it to feel like? What do I want it to look like? That sort of thing. I have never given that much thought. And so all of a sudden I'm thinking about that, because we had a conversation earlier this week or last week about settling versus like deciding effort, like how much effort are you going to put into something for the gains you get out, right? And sometimes it's worth putting in a lot of effort for that small change, if that's it's the take what you want and pay for it thing that Susan likes to say, right? So what is my end game? Where am I going to be happy? What's going to be my bright body? So that's something I'm struggling with, and I need to kind of process and work through. The other thing I wanted to bring up is something that happened on the drive here, actually. I was driving and I had that like happy gut feeling, like just like everything is good. If your gut could smile at you, it would. And I remember very specifically before Brightline Eating, if I had that feeling, it cued me to binge. Like if I had had a healthy meal and a good for you, and this is like everything feels really good, within hours, I was into something that would make me feel rotten. And I was like, why did I do that? And so as I'm driving, I asked my indulger, why did we do that? And her answer shocked me. It's not what I thought it was. She was like, it didn't give you a dopamine spike. Like when you had that happy tummy feeling, it didn't give you the dopamine spike. And so I was getting you that dopamine spike because you wanted a reward. Like you did a good thing and you wanted a reward. So I was getting you that reward, right? And it didn't even occur to me. And so now, all of a sudden, I'm realizing that my dopamine downregulation is actually healing. Because now when I have that happy tummy feeling, that's actually good enough. That is a reward in and of itself. It intrinsically is that attaboy dopamine spike. So that was like a moment for me. So, and I know my timer just went, so I'll just stop there. That's good. Yeah.
Wow. All right. I love that you flexed your restaurant muscle. That is so good. It's good. I mean, even if you don't go a lot, it's still part of life, and you're going to be going eventually at some points. And so it's good to just have some of that skill, like I was telling my students today, like you might think you know how to set up and feed somebody, but you need to practice muscle memory. Like your muscles need to practice doing it. Like you need to practice the act of it. And so that the first time you sit down with a real patient, it's not the first time and your muscles don't know what they're doing. So yeah, I really like that. I think that's really smart, and just to do it every once in a while so that you have that skill. And there's lots of different skills in bright line eating that we do need to just practice, right? Like packing for trips. That's a muscle memory thing too. I mean, a lot of it's brain muscle memory, but yeah. I loved your comment on the hibernation. I took a lot out of that call as well. And I think that's something that this is all of our first times going through this season, because the last of the season, we were all losing weight. And so like just getting into it when the weight starts kind of like falling off. So this will be good for us to remember next year around the February, March time, that just skate through. It'll be fine. It's hibernation season.
Yeah.
Something you said that I loved is that with time, you gain wisdom of accuracy. That was so cool, that statement. Like you just intuitively know, and it's not because you're trying to sneak a 0.1 or anything in. You just, when you've been doing bright line eating and you've been measuring and you've been finding peace with your food for that many days, you just know what it looks like. And so to trust yourself with that. I think that's a little bit where that intuitiveness comes into bright line eating. We don't use intuitiveness a lot. We use it, routine and practice and automaticity, but there is some room for that. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. And wow, I am shocked and amazed at your little revelation about your happy gut feeling. That hit me hard. Holy cow. That you wanted a reward for having a happy gut and eating healthy, and to have a reward, you need a dopamine spike, which means you need to binge. Like that's intense. And that makes so much sense. Wow.
Yeah. And it was just like a little hard conversation with myself. All over the windshield.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what you have planned for your bright body and what you plan for that. It's going to be gorgeous and healthy and strong, no matter what little details you decide about it. But here for the journey. Loved it.
Yeah, I echo what Linnea said for you, Krista. I thought that was so powerful. That I agree about winter. And I think we don't talk about it enough. So I'm glad that we're having the conversation about it, because it is different seasons, different foods, you feel different. And you said so many things that I was like, oh, wow. Like you're feeling neutral with things. You're feeling more peace. You lost some weight, which I think is maybe even a side effect of those things, right? I love that you're exploring your bright body goals, because that's something that I think is so profound and so important. Is you got to know where you're going. Like, why is it going to be worth it? Okay, like, what is that going to look like? How does that feel in the body? Asking those questions to almost prepare us for when the hard days come, that we kind of know what we're having. Because if we're not aiming at anything and we're just kind of floating around, it's harder. So that I thought was so powerful. And I agree with Linnea that there's this theme of trusting yourself and building that self-trust muscle back in, which can almost feel scary, right? Because we're noticing like just the amount of awareness that you have, Krista. I think it's really profound to be like, wow. And I love that you asked your indulger, what is that? Like diving deeper instead of just going like, oh, I had that happy feeling and like just moving along. You were like, oh, I noticed this. And what was that? Why did we do that? And then you got an
Mhm.
answer, which was so powerful. So
Mhm.
that, I don't know. I was really excited. I got chills as you were talking about that, because I was like, wow, that self-trust is so key. And I feel like it's such a huge part of this healing, of like trusting ourselves that we can heal, trusting ourselves that we're not going to binge or go back to other things, that like having your own back.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what I feel in that, is like, you're like, yeah, I got my own back and we're cool. And I got some information now. And that was really cool.
Yeah. It actually just shows how far I've come. And like, yeah, exactly. Like this has healed now. That's why that won't happen again. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't shame your indulger for that. You weren't like,
No.
hey, okay, you get in the back. Like, you were like, oh, I totally see now. And like, you can show her some compassion and some love and be like, okay, I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Well, I like my indulger because she does great work these days too, just not with food. So we got a good relationship. I wouldn't shame her. I like to keep her around.
I like it. Oh man. Okay, Lene, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay. So, food. Okay. So, I'm still on low FODMAP. I did a week of weight loss plus my exercise ads. Completely bright. No BLTs, no bites, licks, or tastes. I was totally bright. My food chatter was practically gone. Yeah, it felt so like, why is this happening? Why is my food, it was just amazing. But then within all that, my weight went up. So last week at our talk, I was at 146 and I felt uncomfortable with that number. My truth pants weren't fitting. So I took 2 different data points. It wasn't just the scale, it was the scale and the clothes. And decided I tried skimming down, shaving off things. It wasn't working. So I decided to just try weight loss, like, why not try it? I mean, I've done it before and I was healthy and successful on it. So the last time I weighed 146, I was on weight loss. So I did that. And then within 2 days, my weight was up to 148 and it's been at 148 for like 4 days. So, so 3 things I've learned today and yesterday about my weight gain. I could have put my body into what it thought was starvation mode. It was used to a certain amount. That's what Susan told me on the call this morning, especially with all the intense exercise I do. So it like held on to weight because I gave it less food. Hibernation, cold season. And then something that I am just learning because I'm new to the maintenance dance is that 8 pounds up is still maintenance dance. It's not gaining weight. And in my head, which I didn't realize until today, was every time that scale went up, I saw 1 pound or 2 pounds closer to 90 pounds. I've lost 90 pounds. So I saw putting weight back on. I saw like, that's what it felt like to me. And so with this, so this goes into my challenges and problems because it's just all consuming right now. I almost feel, so after the coaching call this morning and after our talk on Voxer, and then I kind of put it on Instagram as well. I almost feel like I have a little PTSD around my weight loss journey. That when clothes don't fit, that's a sign of failure, that I've gained weight, that good job, Linnea. You know, sarcastically, good job, Linnea. When the scale goes up, I toyed in my mind today with the idea of not getting on the scale, and that felt very PTSD, because in my history, when I was not on the scale is when I was not, was when I was binging and putting on weight. Those are the times that I didn't get on the scale. I didn't get on the scale because I knew I was gaining, and so I didn't want to see it. And so I stayed away from the scale because of denial. Denial, or even just trying to stay away from it. So the only time I've ever been on the scale is when I'm actively working on it. And so I don't think I could be in that place right now to not be on the scale. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which would be more harmful or beneficial for my psyche and my mental health and my peace. But I'm really needing to work on the inside stuff now. I've worked so hard on the outside that I have a lot of work to do on the inside. My mental chatter, my self-talk. Yeah. Hearing that 10 pounds, even 15 pounds is the ebb and flow of maintenance dance was shocking to me. In my head, from all of my 50 days of experience of maintenance, maybe 60 now, I should look. For all those tiny little amount of time of experience I've had, I was thinking that range we have, the ebbs and flows throughout the range, our 5-pound range was our ebbs and flows. And I've learned is not the case. And so I don't need to be so worried about these 8 pounds that I've put on, because that is the ebb and flow of maintenance. And it doesn't mean I'm gaining all my weight back. But in my mind, I think to gain back 90 pounds, you have to just start with 1. That's what was going through my head. I've put on 8 pounds, which means I am only 82 pounds away. I am on that journey to 90 pounds back because I've put on 8. And that's what's been going through my head for the last few weeks. And that's been a really scary place to live. I don't want to go back there. It was not fun. I felt awful about myself. I was unhealthy. It was not good for my health. And so I did sit and I did write a letter to pre-BLE me. I wrote, "Dear November 8th, Linnea," because I started Brightline eating on November 9th. And it's just the beginning. I didn't get all my healing done in one letter. I did apologize to my old self for being unkind and disrespectful. And I said, I'm trying. I'm learning how. I'm going to keep working on seeing you as beautiful. I'm going to keep working on seeing myself as beautiful. Love, March 9th, Linnea. So, yeah, I just was very honest with her, saying, I don't know how to handle you. I don't know how to talk to you. I don't really know what our relationship is supposed to look like. I did, though, tell her that I was proud of her and really thankful that she started the journey, that she was brave enough to say I'm a food addict to my 2 friends that I first opened up to, and they were the ones that kept just loving me where I was at and encouraged me to do this. So yeah, so that was good. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one is, so that's okay. But stuff to work on.
Do you want to share first?
Sure. Okay, so it's always funny how I'm super blunt, and Laura's always so perfectly worded. I always feel like I come clomping in like, hey guys, here I come. Just to
Clomp away,
break
my
the
friend.
ice. Break the ice.
We need the
So-
blunt sometimes too. We need it both.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I love that you, I feel like the fact that you're identifying still as I have lost 90 pounds and that you're holding that when you say, okay, so I've technically lost 82 if I've gained back 8 or whatever, right? You're saying that, but that you're still claiming that identity of the 90-pound loss. And I think that's good because what you've gained back is not the same as what you lost. And I think it's really important that differentiation is made. Some of that is muscle. Some of that has to do with the cortisol. Some of that has to do probably with your body just, yeah, in survival mode and putting a layer of protection on. But it's not the same 8 pounds that you lost. It's a different 8 pounds. It's a maintenance 8 pounds, right? It's actually just different matter than what was lost. And I think that's important to, I think that you were already subconsciously doing it, but I'm just pointing it out.
I've actually, and I thank you for saying that because the last 3 days I've been like, should I have been saying I've lost 90 pounds because I'm not down 90 pounds anymore? Like, I feel like I'm lying to people.
Yeah, no, you're not lying to people. You've lost 90 pounds and you're maintenance dancing, right?
Yeah.
And right now it's a bit of a tango. Like it's kind of all over the place. That's okay. Yeah, when you said the sarcastic good job, I had there was like this little red light flashing, and I don't know all the right things around it, but I do know like sarcasm is really damaging. And I'm not sure how to elaborate on that, but you probably already know. Like it's just there's something about if your self-talk is sarcastic, there's something really damaging in there. Something just something to pay attention to. And I don't know if you remember when I was seeing a therapist, when I would write down a list at the end of the day of things I did right today. And I only did it for like a week and a half. I didn't do it for long, but it changed my outlook. Every night I would write down the list of the things I did right. Sometimes it was short, sometimes it was long. Sometimes all that was on the list was I had a bright day today, right? But doing that list really did help with my self-talk. And then I would encourage you to add to that possibly give old Linnea a compliment. See if you can give her a compliment every night. Just look in the mirror, find her in there. What did she do right? She's still in there somewhere, right? Like, what did she do right today? Or what's something she used to do right that you can just give her that atta girl. Just look at her as someone outside of yourself with low self-esteem that you are trying to bolster up, and give her a compliment. Just as exercising that out of body experience. You don't have to do any of this, but those are some of the things that came into my mind. Also, just way to go staying bright with all these ups and downs. Like that's a big deal when things get so frustrating. I know it seems like it's easy after a year and a half or whatever you're at. Goodness knows, you're so far in. As we say that, but then Jen's over there like, I'm 3 years in.
Like 5 years. Yeah.
Something like that. She's not going to talk back. We can say whatever we want. Jen's been doing this for 10 years. But you know, like
Jen is Susan Pierce Thompson.
okay, focus. Stay focused. But you stayed bright. You stayed bright in those ups and downs, and it's not easy because no matter how far in you are, you're still only 2 feet from the ditch. Yes, we are funny, Jen. Sorry, getting distracted by the chat. So anyway, I'm celebrating that with you because I know it's so good to not overlook being bright, no matter how far in you are. Like that is an achievement. Yes. So way to go.
Thank you.
So good. I was wondering, what if instead of calling them truth pants, what if we called them your summertime pants?
Hey, there we go.
What if we don't put those on in the winter time?
Or what if we don't wear pants in the summer? Loophole.
Woo. Put those pants somewhere else right now. And we don't focus on that because I don't like the word truth pants. because that makes it, I think that reiterates the failure piece of like another name or another season or whatever that looks like, but maybe evaluate that. I love that you were able to recognize this is fear. This is PTSD. This is some really hard stuff that's coming. And letting go of the failure because you didn't fail. I agree with Chris. I actually feel like you succeeded in so many ways. And own that you did lose that 90 pounds. That doesn't change with the maintenance stance. And you said it, you were at the time, right, binging and purging, and you're not binging and purging. So it's a very different thing and I love that of like, you're already here. You're already in the winner's circle. Like we're welcoming you in, you cross the finish line, we put the gold, like the gold medal over you. And now we're just kind of figuring it out. So there is no failure because you did it. Like you ran that marathon and now we're just tweaking a few things and figuring it out. But I agree with you. The inside stuff is so much harder than the outside stuff. And it's the stuff that we didn't talk about because you can lose the weight or do the things and you still have thoughts. You still have to live with yourself and your thoughts. And that's harder to deal with than, okay, I just have to weigh 4 ounces of protein and put, 14 ounces of vegetables on my plate. It's different. It's a different game. So I love that you're noticing that. I love that you're even saying like, and maybe even like, I'm willing to see you as beautiful. Even if it doesn't feel real just yet, I'm willing to love you through this. Because I look back and I see you 90 pounds heavier who started Brightline Eating. And I feel like she's your hero because she said yes to this with the hope that she would meet you. And that she was brave enough to do that. And I feel like it's almost like, oh, can you love me? Because I took a chance on you. And that in a way she saved you. You saved yourself. There's like a piece of that there. So I'm holding space for her because I feel like she's done some really cool things. Okay. I'm going to put myself in the hot seat. Food has been good. Food has been bright. I'm still doing well with that protein ad. Feel like I needed it and noticing just feeling better overall since doing that protein ad, the collagen peptides in my coffee in the morning and then like that protein powder. So I feel like it's been good. And I was a little nervous with that protein powder, but I've been on it several weeks now and still haven't noticed any triggers or cravings or anything weird coming up with that. So that's good. My weight has been good. It's been kind of slow and steady. It's just kind of doing its same thing, which is good. I know it'll go up a pound or 2 around my period. It just happens. And then it'll come back down. So ironically enough, it's kind of just leveled out. It is what it is. Challenges, things that come up. I have been getting some trigger point injections in different areas. And we did suboccipital muscles and the neck. And oh my gosh, those are brutal. Those are really intense. And I noticed with having more pain, like I'm kind of working through a hip flexor injury a little bit with doing some core exercises and some resistance. And I felt it go into spasm. Was like, oh, okay, you didn't like that. And I kind of backed off and adjusted, but I've been having more pain with sitting, like driving, sitting, and so I've been kind of working in the recliner to like straighten my legs out to kind of help with that. And I emailed my surgical team at BLE and they just kind of said, yeah, your hip flexors are pretty vulnerable after post-op, after surgery, and you're just going to have to give it time and let it, do the things. So I've been working on that, and I'm noticing with increased pain, like physical pain in my body, having like thinking about NMF occasionally. And that's interesting because I don't typically have cravings anymore. Like it just kind of goes away. And I remember that was like a comforting thing, right? My mom would like make me NMF after surgery. And it was like a thing, even though it was like, right, paleo NMF, and like refined sugar-free NMF, whatever you want to call it, it's still NMF. So I'm just kind of aware of that, is it's almost like I think it's like a comforting thing when you're in physical discomfort and pain to notice that. So I did kind of notice that a little bit. I'm hoping that I'm at the end of this parasite cleanse and things. So far, the last 2 days, knock on wood, I haven't seen anything. So I'm kind of like, hey, did we clean house? Are we good? Are we like moving on from all of this? So I'm like pleasantly optimistic about that. Funny that you talk about restaurants, Krista, because I feel like you're going to be my motivation and I may be boxering you about this. We don't usually, eat out with people at a restaurant. And it's my father-in-law's birthday tomorrow and my husband's birthday the following week. And so the family wanted to go to a restaurant. And I almost feel like in a weird way, COVID protected us from that. Like we just didn't go to restaurants. So it was like, okay, that's cool. But now it's like re-entry. And it's like, we want to go to a restaurant to celebrate the family's birthday. And my first thought was like, oh, like, that feels a little stressful to have to think about that. Because then I had thoughts of like, okay, well, we're gonna have to pick a place and I'm gonna have to research and like, I don't know. And I'm also traveling later this month for work, for a leadership retreat, and kind of the same thing of right, building that muscle. And I've done it before. I've traveled on BLE and I'm kind of preparing my things. But I notice I like the bubble, my comfort bubble of being at home and having everything there, and it's easy and it's routine and it's automatic. And now we have to live in the real world and go and eat with people, do the things. And so I'm noticing that it's bringing up some anxiety and just like, okay, we can figure this out. We've done it before. We've eaten at restaurants before. We can do it again. But just kind of like, with travel and restaurants and all of that piece. But I think lately it's been like sitting with the discomfort of stuff. And I saw my counselor. I kind of feel like everybody needs counseling in their life, but have been talking through some of the stuff about like infertility and not being a mom. And I was doing so good on that. And then it was International Women's Day. And I saw a lot of stuff on Instagram, specifically about moms and motherhood and this and that. And it was, and I was proud of myself to notice, oh, you're being triggered in this moment. Okay, let's ask some questions. Let's see if we can dive a little bit deeper into that and see. And a post came up that I thought was so profound. And it was like, can we normalize talking to our children about how parenthood is a choice? And I think I realized in that moment that it was just kind of like assumed, like just like, oh, you're going to grow up and you're going to get married, you're going to have kids. And then it almost feels like, and then life happened, right? Stuff happened that was crazy. And, cancer and all these things, and then making decisions, but ultimately that it was a choice. And I don't know, just sitting with that a little bit. And it's funny because I thought it was good. And then it's like, oh, this is coming back up. And isn't that the inner healing journey? It's like we constantly, it circles back around, and it's not like we just reach it. There's different levels. There's different like layers of healing and peeling back the layers and noticing them. So yeah, I don't know, just like noticing some sadness with that and sitting with that, noticing some, and I'm doing that brain retraining course, and that's kind of blowing my mind a little bit because she's talking about how we may just try to fix stuff all the time. And I see that like with my physical body of like a new ache or whatever comes, and I just want to fix it or research it or like figure it out. And asking these questions like, what if it's okay right now? What if it's okay to not be okay? What if it's okay to just like sit with this? What if I don't have to fix it? Because when we're trying to fix it all the time, we're constantly in a like survival, fight or flight. Your body's not safe. Okay, how do we figure this out? So there's just like a lot of sitting with that. I would say emotional discomfort, physical discomfort, and noticing my tendency to want to come in and fix it and being like, okay, what if there's nothing to fix? What if we're okay, like in this moment? But it's an interesting tug of war that's kind of happening right now around all of that. And the fact that I was thinking about NMF again, just in physical pain, reminds me of some of the surgery stuff and the, right? We think we should be, I'm a year post-op. We think we should be like magical and running and skipping and jumping. And it's like, and we're still working through some stuff. So I don't know, a little bit of acceptance around that.
Yeah. Who goes first, me or you? I don't know. I can go. Whatever. You're muted, so I'll go. You can't talk. Okay. So I'm gonna work backwards. So starting with what you were just talking about, the new aches and wanting to fix it, and just the PTSD coming in, even, right? And learning to sit with it. And I immediately thought of my 3-year-old, because we're doing renos right now. And have you ever heard the sound of an impact wrench? Like the really loud, like it's like the electric drill, and when it's all the way drilled in, then it sort of starts to spin and slip, and it's like really loud and like shakes the whole house. It's terrifying to kids, right? And so he's freaking out every time someone's putting a screw in the wall. So I take him in our sunroom and I close the door, and he can still hear it, but it's like just relax, just be with this noise where it's not as noisy, so you can hear it for what it is. And then later we open the door and he's fine, even though he's hearing the noise at full blast, because he understands what's going on. And so sometimes I think when we're sitting with things, it's okay to put a barrier of comfort without like putting a wall up at the same time, right? Like doing something within a safe place so that you can sit with it, but you don't have to sit with all of it necessarily at once, right? And so it's just kind of an analogy. I thought maybe it might be helpful. Oh. And then when your mom used to make NMF, and you specifically said it was paleo NMF, blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to point out that was your Bright at the time, right? For how you were eating at the time, that was your version of Bright. Like what she was making you was still something that you considered a good, wholesome, nutritious. Like she wasn't bringing you Cheetos, you know what I mean? So, so what would be your new comfort? It's not going to be food, but maybe there's a pull there because there needs to be a thing. Maybe there needs to be a comfort coming in there that's not coming in. Like I said, me and my indulger, we got a good relationship. So she likes to like, this is my job now, right? Like she just comes in right there. It's like, so give that some thought. There's probably a thing that could be helpful and comforting that's not food, because you figured it out before. You had a paleo comfort during those moments of pain. So there might be a different comfort that comes in now. And
I love your indulger's voice, by the way.
Yeah, she's Southern. Yeah. She comes right in with that Southern hospitality. She's like, we got this. We're going to go to the dollar store. We're going to get things done. All the things. Restaurants. Okay, so we had a conversation earlier that really helped me. So I'm going to throw it back at you about what equals a Bright restaurant meal, and the idea of that one plate rule, the idea of knowing the portions are going to be different. You're going to have less veggies. You're going to have more protein. You're going to have more fat, and that's actually okay, right? It's no sugar, no flour. You've determined and decided this is going to be your Bright meal. And I think the reason we struggle with it, because in boot camp, in the restaurant videos, she's very meticulous about how to like order an extra salad, get all your dressings on the side, do this and that to keep it really, really bright. But that's also tailored to people who are just starting, right? Who are going to be derailed by that restaurant meal. You're not in that place. even like Susan herself knows it. When you hear her talk about restaurant food, she says it. She's like, there's too much oil on this. Like, or I know this is super greasy. So she even admits to, like, I eat this super greasy restaurant food, right? Because what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That's what it is. And if it becomes something that's triggering and escalating and affecting your weight, then you reel it in, right? You use those 4 questions and you reel it in. But a restaurant meal is different. A bright restaurant meal is different than a bright at home meal, and being okay with that. And then for the prolonged period of time where you're at your work thing, coming to peace with, you're probably going to gain a few pounds while you're gone. And that's okay. And it'll come off after, and that'll be part of that ebb and flow, right? And that, I know that might hit the wrong way, but just something to think about with that, right? And okay, I got one more. It's an analogy, and I hope okay.
Uh-oh.
I just don't want to. I don't want to like trigger anything, but I'm gonna go for it. It's on the motherhood thing, okay? So that's why I say that. The analogy I got was of igneous. I think it's igneous rock, the kind that are formed from the heat and the compaction, and we think of that's how diamonds are formed, right? The heat and the pressure and the heat and the pressure. But do you know what else is formed? Other gemstones. And they're formed out of the exact same materials, but the conditions are just slightly different. And it makes an entirely different gemstone. So if you think about our lives, and like we're all starting in the same place, and we all have these same goals of, grow up, get a job, get married, have kids, you know what I mean? We all have those goals. But then life happens. One rock gets slightly more oxygen, one gets slightly more pressure, one gets a little bit of salt thrown in the mix, whatever, right? And it turns into different gemstones. And our lives are different. And not one gemstone is more precious or valuable than the other, because they're all rare and beautiful, because they all require such specific conditions to be formed, right? And so, I mean, take that and run with it, and just maybe meditate on that for a bit. And like, there's value in that, and it's beautiful, and it's precious, and it's different, and that's okay. So, yeah, that's all.
Krista and her analogies and metaphors. I just love it. Love it.
Roll today.
The Southern
feeling deep.
You're the queen of metaphors. I love it. Is there a difference between a metaphor and an analogy? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not an English pro.
Okay. You've got a lot of yays, Laura. A lot of yays. Exercise is automatic. Oh. I loved hearing that. That made me so happy. And that you made 87 days of consecutive meditation. That's amazing. And wouldn't you rather break a meditation line than a bright line, than a food line? So like, those are those things. Like, there you go.
Exercise line.
Yes. And that you resumed right away. You didn't wallow in it. You were just like, oh no, I missed, like, gotta get back on. Like, so those are great. That's great practice for if your exercise does slip, or if your bright lines do slip, like you're exercising those muscles again. So that's really good. I'm so happy that you're feeling good with your food, because I know it, trying to decide about that protein powder to benefits and risks and weighing, and it's just going well. So that's a huge win. Yeah, I was really thinking too, when you had talked about like that physical pain triggers that NMF thought and that need for NMF. And I did think like, I think, maybe you do have some PTSD around physical pain because of all of the health history and the surgeries and the cancer and all of that stuff. And that's okay to feel that. And you've got such great foundation laid with your bright line eating that even if a NMF thought does come up your way, that you know how to handle that thought, and you know that it's less about the food and more about what you're going through. And you know the right questions to ask, and and I think what Krista said was brilliant, that you're used to getting some comfort from your mom. Like, I mean, what human being doesn't need some comfort from mom from now and then? So maybe you just even need to spend time with mom. Like maybe that situation was more about mom and less about the NMF. And maybe you just need a day with mom, or like an afternoon with mom, or a phone call, or a lunch out. So I don't know, maybe hold on to mom a little tight when those come up. Restaurant. Yeah. I love talking about flexing the restaurant muscle, because I have gone to a lot of, not a lot, like I have gone quite a bit to restaurants in my Brightline eating journey. And being a 10 plus on the scale, like at first it was kind of scary, but it's not like derailing at all. I always know, like, just like Krista, I feel like I coached Krista through some of those things. Like, it's a bright restaurant meal is different than a bright home meal, and that's okay. It's still bright. And the wonderful technology we have, where like you can find every detail of every ingredient and things on menus, like on your laptop, on your phone before you go. And that's always what I do. And I always know that there are a couple like places that, and that's the nice thing about going to restaurants, is that you know where you can go and find that perfect bright meal, so that when people are like, hey, do you want to go out? Be like, yeah. You throw out the first suggestion, because you know there's a bright meal there, and you won't have to stress about it. You can just enjoy the company because you know you're good. So I have like 3 of those restaurants in town. And even if I'm out of town, I know, FODMAP aside, Mexican is always good. Mexican always works. Fajitas with no tortillas and no rice and beans. You just eat the protein and the peppers and the onions, and there's tons of oil on there. So you got your fat, your protein, and your vegetables, and you're good to go. So I'm like, everybody likes Mexican, right? So yes, like the more you practice, the more you're like to me, it's like no big deal if someone wants to go out to a restaurant. And it's also about having people that love and respect your journey. And hopefully they do, so that they're willing to work with you on those things. That's the challenging piece. So are they willing to let you have a say in what restaurant you go to? If they're not, you adjust. And that might mean if there's literally barely anything on the menu you can eat, you find that one thing, even if it's if it's a burger joint, you just get a burger with the veggie toppings and no bun. And then in the car, before you go in, you eat 10 ounces of carrot sticks and get a side salad. And it might not be the most wonderful meal, but you're doing it for someone else. You're going there for your family. You're not going there for your meal. And to take out, like, I'm not going here to fill my food cup. I'm going to this restaurant to fill my family cup, and I'll just take care of my bright food, and I'll have something more delicious tomorrow. So that's how I think about restaurants in a couple different ways. So I don't know, hopefully that's helpful, but I like talking about restaurants because I don't think we should. I totally agree. I'd almost rather eat at home because I know I can make really good food and it's super bright, but I also I love going out to restaurants. So I like that part of it too. Oh, the other thing you said, and then I'll stop talking. That working on things, and this was good for me to hear, because even though I'm working through this stuff now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to have to come around. You said everything circles back, and there's layers and there's different levels. Like, just because you've worked through some of that infertility stuff doesn't mean you're not going to keep working through it, and then keep working through it at another level, and then another level. And each level is going to feel different. And so that was good for me to hear. So thank you for saying that, and just sitting with you in that, like, yeah, if only it was that easy, but life isn't that easy. Life is complicated, messy, and muddy, and that's okay. And we're here for the ride. So, all right, I'm done.
That's good. Ah, so good. Okay. So now we go around and share what was the most helpful thing that we took away from the mastermind. and share our commitments for the week.
Okay. There's a commonality with being triggered by something in our past and learning to heal from it. And I wonder if that's related to where we're at in our journeys, but we sort of have that cool perk of being in similar places where that's coming up. For you guys, it was, for both of you, it was a bit of an actual PTSD. For me, it was remembering a cue to binge, right? And I think my takeaway is just that even the layers thing that Linnea just said of working through things, and with this bright line eating journey, like we take the food out of the way and we start working on things. And when we get past that, there's going to be something else to work on. And it's going to kind of keep going like that. Like our life is this big tangled ball of yarn. We can get one knot out and then we work on the next one, and we just keep going until we figure it all out, right? And that's part of the journey. So I think that's probably my takeaway. My commitment. My commitment's going to be to explore my bright body goals. I like the way you worded that, Laura. Yeah, I think that's going to be my commitment. So some kind of journaling around my bright body goals.
Like it.
I think hearing that the 8 pounds I've gained are different than the 8 pounds I lost within my 90 pounds. I needed to hear that. I needed to be reinforced with that. Yes, I am someone who lost 90 pounds, and now I'm just ebbing and flowing within that. And that's okay. I still am that person. And those are very different pounds than the previous time I had those 8 pounds on. So, and my commitment is going to be, I'm not pushing. I'm not going to stay on weight loss. I'm not going to do it. I've had a lot of peace today about, I need to focus more on what's going on inside. And I can't do that if I'm focusing on weight loss. So I'm going back to my last modified maintenance, which was just no grains at lunch or supper. So like putting my veggie adds back in, and my protein adds back in. So yeah, I feel super comfortable with that. It gives space for possibly the weight to come off very slowly without those 2 full servings of extra grain. I don't need them. Like, I feel very satiated without them. I don't feel lightheaded or dizzy or low energy. If those things come up with my lifting, I would readdress it. Just like, I think I'm just going to come from a place of, because those were kind of my last ads. Like, if I need to make an ad, I'll make an ad. But right now I'm just going to hang out in this space with the ads that I have. So I'm just going to commit to going back to that. I had kind of come halfway there today after yesterday. So I've already written down my food. I've got my protein ads and my veggie ads back in. So.
Can I challenge you just to add to that, sitting with it and meditating on what is your plan of action if your weight goes up? Right? You don't have to tell us that right now, but just to sit with that manifested enough to, what would you do? What are you going to tell yourself? Almost like an EAP, right? So it's not like, take it out again, right?
Yeah. I just got anxious. You've been saying that, that my weight might go up.
Yeah.
Ooh, which is why it's good to think about and plan around so that you can start mastering your thoughts around it.
An EAP for weight gain. Okay.
because that's the fact that you got, like, we could see your whole face tightened up when she said that, right? Your whole body was like, ugh. But it's really just based on what you tell it, right? Because it could be like, oh, I'm still in that window. I'm still in maintenance.
Yeah.
We love you.
Through thick and thin. Sorry.
You suck.
Curtis said that to me once, and so I've been waiting for a chance to use.
Oh, snap.
Curtis is my husband, just for everyone else watching.
Came really close to giving you a finger, love.
Oh,
Oh,
it was too intense.
that's
Oh,
how you know, that's how you know she hit on something. That's how you know that there's like, there's something
Oh,
good there.
that's hysterical. Okay. All right. Moving on.
Love you.
Okay.
We really do.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Gosh, there were so many takeaways that I really loved. I love that image of taking your 3-year-old son to almost like take him to a safer place and turn down the volume. And I feel like I can do that for my inner 3-year-old of just like, or, you know, like, okay, it's okay. Like we're safe and we got this, but we don't need to just like focus on it, right? You don't need to stand right by the drill. We can take you to a safe place. I love that gemstone analogy. That was so beautiful. I love when Linnea was talking about like, right, like, yeah, that was PTSD and kind of bringing some comfort that from my mom or that kind of mothering it. Because yeah, when you don't feel, I don't care how old you are, like after surgery, I wanted my mom. I love my husband. I was also like, and I need my mom during this time. And it was really profound when you said like, you're going for your family, right? Like for the restaurant. And you talking about the restaurants made me excited about it, of like, okay, we don't have to have fear about it. It's okay. Like, right. Like the body's safe again. Like it's safe. It's cool. Like we'll be fine. Okay. We can trust this. So I think that's actually what I need to do for my commitment is work on my own mindset and thoughts and build up some excitement about the restaurant instead of it feeling like, yay, we get to try something new and figure it out. And even like, okay, Linnea, I'm going to sit with you in this. I feel like I need an EAP on what to do if you have a pain flare.
Good
like,
call.
What can bring you pain? What do you need? Like, what's going to be the things, the action steps that you do when this happens to bring comfort in other ways besides food? Those would be good for me to focus on. And I still want to rebuild my meditation back up again. That's my ego. And I do feel like the exercise is starting to bring some automaticity, which is good. But yeah, I think I need a pain emergency action plan and some work around restaurants, because especially with this birthday thing coming up and then with travel, it'll be good to have a game plan with those two. Okay.
Sounds good.
And then we're meeting next Wednesday, the 16th at 7:15.
Yep.
On Zoom. Who's leading next week?
Probably me. My turn
Yeah,
again?
it's our I don't have my book with my order.
It's probably me.
Because Jen led last.
I'm pretty sure you led the week before, right?
Yeah, I think she did.
I always just assume when we're like, who's leading, and no one else pipes up that it's probably me. Sure. Sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I got it. I can lead.
Awesome. Okay. And that concludes our mastermind group. It was
There we
really good.
go.
Thanks, Jen, for all the awesome comments in the chat.
Yes, thank you everybody that came to watch, and I hope it was helpful, and get a mastermind group. It's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game changer,
It really
especially
is.
for bookending, right? Like when you have regular communication with people, then it's just instinctive when you're going through something to process it, not eat over it, like right
Yeah.
away. We all take that for granted now at this point, but
Yeah.
facing something tough, we talk about it. We don't eat over it.
Yep. Yep.
So good. All right.
Comments here.
Aw. So fun. There's some sweet comments on the gram too.
Yeah. How many people are watching from the Instagram?
It kind of fluctuates between 4 and 6. So there's a few
Very good.
fun
Nice.
Instagram souls coming in.
Wahoo.
All right. Well, I will
Awesome.
post this. We'll get replays up for everybody in all the places. Yeah. And I second that. The accountability and the support, because we need that. We need people to call us on our shizzle. We need people to love us where we're at. We need people to help us navigate through the things. And it's a weight loss journey. It's not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of things, and doing it in life and during a pandemic and with all the other stuff. So having some sisters who are sitting with you in it and understand is really helpful.
Mhm.
Amen. Yeah. You say it, girl.
Right. Much love to you all. Thanks for being here.
Right. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Should we unmute ourselves? Jen, you want to unmute ourselves? We'll say goodbye. Goodbye.
She gonna do it? Oh. No, maybe not.
There
Yes.
she is.
Yay.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. It was great to be with
Goodbye.
you. See you next time.